Okay, so part one of Patrick Ray. He had only a few minutes, but we thought it was important to talk to him about Canopy Boulder, his accelerator, as he was just in the 8th week of his first 13-week class. So we'll come back, as you'll hear, and talk to him at the end of that class for part 2 of Patrick Ray. We've got Patrick Ray.
Nice to be here.
All right, and I pronounced it correctly.
Yes, you did.
You've heard everything under the sun.
Pretty much.
Yeah. This is going to be a short one, all right?
Let's do it.
Exactly. And, what we do here, as you might know already, is we feel that who you are informs what you do. So we find out about who you are.
Let's do it.
All right. Because business is personal, Patrick.
It definitely is.
How was Brown University?
Brown was a great experience. To be surrounded by people who challenge you intellectually, creatively, every day is something I think everybody should go through, and not everybody gets a chance to go through.
Yeah. No grades.
No, there are grades.
That's folklore.
Not as many people believe there are no grades, and it's just a good old time.
Right.
You can create your own major and curriculum if you choose to, but while I was there, I think only a couple people I knew did that, because it's a lot of work. If you're creating your own curriculum, your own major, it's a ton of work. But you can take all your classes pass fail.
Okay.
Right.
Yeah. Did you do that?
I don't think I took. I may have taken 1 or 2 classes pass fail just because it was a big stretch.
Right.
But I think I did pretty darn well when I was there, considering how scared I was when I first arrived, and probably how unprepared I was for the expectations. But that type of experience builds character and really teaches you that when you're moving into new spaces, you can feel confident in yourself because you've done it before.
Right.
And I've always been a person that likes to learn.
Yeah.
And searches out learning and searches out challenge. And I'm not afraid to be a novice, right? Because I love that journey from novice to expert.
Uh-huh.
And that's me.
You like the journey from novice to expert.
Yeah. And I think a lot of people in the cannabis industry obviously do too. This industry is moving rapidly, changing faster than any other industry I've ever been in. We are in that sort of super steep part of the growth and learning curve. And if you don't bring that sensibility to the industry, a part of your personality, you're going to get left in the dust. Right now, I'm seeing more and more pros coming from outside the industry to join it. And where we are with Canopy Boulder, the business accelerator is we're in one of the greatest spots, I believe, in the industry to take advantage of that great talent coming in, because we search out the tools they need and we develop them, and we search out the pros to come in and they want to get to know the industry. We can accelerate that introduction and the launch of the businesses that they start. Right.
And that's exactly what Canopy Boulder is. You just started this thing up, right?
Yeah, it's been a long time in development, but and we are in the 8th week of our first 13-week class. So as you can imagine, we've kind of crested the summit and are plummeting down to the finish line of Canopy, and we will have our demo day directly preceding the National Cannabis Industry Association's welcome reception on June 29th at the Denver Convention Center.
There you go. And that's when we are going to continue this conversation.
Yeah. I'm excited to catch up and tell you how I was wrong about everything when we get to that finish line, or perhaps we'll be drinking beers on the podcast here.
Sure. Why not? But let's just connect those dots from Brown to Canopy Boulder. Let's take the quick version.
Yeah.
So, you graduate with what degree?
I double majored.
Uh-huh.
I had a degree in business and a degree in geology.
Aha.
And I played soccer in 4 years, and we had a very good team. We went to the NCAA tournament 3 out of the 4 years. We did really well.
What position did
I
you
was a
play?
goalkeeper.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh, so
Yeah.
you are somewhat dexterous.
Yeah, well, at one point I was. I don't know about it is how much I am now, but and it's a fall sport. So after my senior fall season ended, I've sort of said, okay, what am I going to do? And one of my friends, who's also an athlete, he was doing all sorts of internships. Oh, I'll do an internship, and I got an internship at a startup investment bank and venture capital firm that focused exclusively on the nutrition industry, which is I define as pretty much anything that you can buy at Whole Foods, right? Supplements, natural and organic foods, et cetera. At that time in the late 90s, it was growing incredibly fast, and there were publicly traded stocks that were rocketing up in value and transactions happening everywhere, tons of opportunity, a lot of capital flowing into the market. And so it was a great time to join a startup investment bank and venture capital firm because we had just tons of deal flow, and it was hard to keep up, and it was a great experience.
Right.
One of our portfolio companies was based in San Diego, and this bank was in Rhode Island. The portfolio company was essentially the economist of the natural products industry. So they did all their market research and numbers, and had tons of connections and relationships. And I went out to San Diego, which was great because I was in my 20s.
Right.
And I was coming from Rhode Island, and nothing against Rhode Island, but the weather can be a little bit off-putting. And went to
Certainly not the same as San Diego.
No, San Diego's in a class of its own. Let's be honest. And I was supposed to be out there for a 3-month project to write a memorandum, work with the company to get it prepared to be sold. And we were successful at getting it sold. There was an earnout provision, which I thought I had an idea on how to get that, earn that earnout, which was a 4-year earnout in 1 year. And so the founder gave me a shot. We did it, nailed it in a year. Everybody was happy.
How did you do that?
Well, it was interesting. I knew that from the work that I've been doing with the company and my conversations with the founder that there was a big gap in the market for market research and sort of authoritative, unbiased, complete tomes on the industry. So, you write a 300-page report on the business of the supplement industry or the organic foods market or network marketing. And, so I started writing these reports, pulling from the years of research that the business had already produced, the journal. And they sold incredibly fast. And we hit that earnout. Everybody was happy.
Right.
Bought a condo in San Diego and lived there for another 5-6 years.
Right.
And was looking at business school, was getting a little bored, started applying to business school, was getting my applications, accepted letters back. And the business that another person in the industry, in the natural products industry, who had bought the business that I was working at, said, "Hey, you're not going to business school. I'm going to pay you to get a business school education at my company." And I must say I do enjoy making money. And it meant I needed to move to Boulder, Colorado.
Right.
And so I moved out and worked for a division of a large B2B media company. And it was in the natural product space, and just, one thing led to another. And, 5-6 years down the road, I had a team of 35, 40 and 12 P&Ls that I was managing, and we were owned by private equity a couple times over. And we were always the big cash cow of this larger corporation. And I think I got tired of making other people money.
Yeah.
And it was time I had the entrepreneurial itch I wanted to scratch.
Right.
So I parachuted out of that. And I thought pretty well. I think everyone was pretty happy, and launched into the cannabis industry.
So now, but Pure Prescriptions and Health Business Partners and Miso Capital and Green Bros, that's all after that media company.
Well, yeah, some of them, there were some things happening in parallel.
Right.
But, when I launched out of that big B2B media company,
right,
I was already sort of doing some things nights and weekends, and it was a good time, and I really liked it, and that was compelling enough. I was tired of the corporate drag, and Had some great experience running teams, advising entrepreneurs, building business communities, chairing conferences, public speaking, putting together market research and analyzing deals and working on transactions. So when I came to the cannabis industry, it just seemed like a natural progression to focus my energies on building a community, an ecosystem of entrepreneurs and investors, and narrowing the investment gap that existed. Because when I joined the cannabis industry, I very quickly realized there were a lot of investors like myself that wanted to get into the industry. They wanted to write checks. They wanted to be a part. They were fired up. And there were a lack of investment-ready businesses on the other side.
Right.
And it wasn't that they weren't good CEOs or entrepreneurs, or the businesses weren't great ideas and they would succeed but they needed guidance. They needed mentorship. They needed a structured way for them to get what they needed so that they could be the best in class companies in their niches in the industry. And the business accelerator model fills that gap perfectly.
What are you seeing out of the businesses in this first class?
A lot of great things. I like to say everything's gone as I expected.
Okay.
We have some strong companies. We have some companies that are a little slower coming along, but they have still great potential. And we have a lot of people kind of fighting in the middle. And that's what you should expect. You should expect for any portfolio is you're gonna have winners, you're gonna have laggards, and you're gonna have a strong core.
The basket, right?
Yeah, it's like the bell curve.
Indeed.
So we're seeing that natural distribution in our portfolio as you do see it in the entire industry.
How do folks find you? How do you find folks?
Well, we spend a lot of time in the industry at the events. We're partnered with the ArcView Group.
Yes.
And they've been a fantastic partner. I was the executive editor of the ArcView Market Research Report this year on the state of the legal marijuana markets. That's something I've done many times before, and brought my team and skill set to this industry and produced, I think, a pretty damn good report. So we got to meet a lot of people that way. But Troy and the ArcView Group have been great. I've been part of investor forums. I've run conferences and chaired it. I know what to do, and I think what we say it's nice, I think, for it's nice that I can lend those skills to the ArcView Group and take a little pressure off Troy, because it's hard when you're the captain of the ship and you're starting a business. And if you can find people that you can trust, that you don't have to worry they're gonna step in it in a very public way, and they'll do a good job, and they're focused and committed, and want to help you realize your vision, that's great. And I'm lucky enough to have that for my own organization, Canopy, and in a partnership with Troy at ArcView. And we encourage that for our startups as well. We don't like to see startups coming into the accelerator as sole founders. We say, find a co-founder. Because if you can sell one person on your idea, at least that's one person, right? And you have a chance.
Interesting. That's your first and best advice to everybody, I would imagine.
Yeah, starting a business, sometimes I wonder why people would even try, right?
Yeah.
There's a very, very high failure rate. I think it's like 2 out of 3 businesses, or maybe it's 3 out of 4, I think was in the last HBS report I saw.
Right.
3 out of 4 businesses fail in the first 3 years. So why would you even try, right? Especially then in the cannabis industry, because there's a lot of work. There's a lot of challenge. It's going to be, we like to say, 3 times harder, cost 3 times as much, and take 3 times as long to do what you want to do.
Right.
So if you think about doing it on your own, you should find a co-founder, somebody who shares your vision, wants to work as hard as you will, and you can team up, divide and conquer.
There you go. All right. I know that you have to get going now, and I want to make sure that we don't rush you away.
Yeah, no worries.
But I will ask you the final 2 questions.
Sounds good.
Now, and then I will see how they change next time we talk.
I'm up for it.
What's most surprised you? You've been in, at a high level for a short amount of time, but at a high level. What's most surprised you in cannabis?
I think what's most surprised me in cannabis is how fast it's changing. I've been part of fast growing markets before, but the rate of change, whether it's the investor interest, the quality of the startups, the professionals coming from outside in, as well as the players on the inside, realizing new opportunities and acting fast to capitalize on them. That surprised me. And I think what's also surprised me also at times is honestly some of the unprofessional nature of some of the individuals. You're always going to see it, but I think we're a real small industry right now.
Yeah.
So when people are bad actors, boy, it gets around. And
Real
it's
quick,
like living
though,
in a
doesn't it?
small town. You know, you got to continue to do well. You know, the industry is very open and sharing still, but we're starting to see some people, you know, hoarding and, you know, trying to realize their value like right now when the big money, the riches to be had are in the long game. And yeah, so it's interesting to see the personalities and things happening.
Interesting. And you've got this loud, boisterous, outward personality yourself.
Oh, do I?
No, not at all. Patrick, it's good to get to know you at least this little bit, and then we will, again, continue when we're in Denver.
Yeah, sounds good.
All right, sir. A quick one, which incidentally is my favorite Who song. Interesting to hear that Patrick is already seeing folks hoarding, you know, trying to realize their value right now, while, as he explains it, the money is in the long game. We'll come back and talk to him at the end of that very first class for Canopy Boulder, find out what he learned from each of the folks that he is fostering.